Small stakes practice for high stakes results. Negotiation, Jim Camp wrote a book in 2002 called Start With No. And he used to say negotiation is a human performance event. He compared it to a sporting event. How do athletes get better? I mean, they practice each day. They do the little things in practice. You can start doing the negotiation skills, the labels, the questions with everybody you interact with the Starbucks employee, with a person behind the counter at the grocery store, at the drugstore. Like, we encourage people to use labels and mirrors and communication tools to understand the other side and make people feel heard every single day in little ways. Because you're in a big negotiation, you're not going to use something you haven't been practicing. You don't want to practice in a big negotiation, so we say everything in life is a negotiation. Potential collaboration, use the skills every day.
So the question is this: how do most agents find the secrets to succeed in today's competitive real estate market, especially when the top agents are keeping those secrets to themselves? That's the question, and this podcast will give you the answer. Hi, I'm Aaron Amuchastegui, and welcome to Real Estate Rockstars. Hey, Real Estate Rockstars. This is Aaron Amuchastegui, and I'm interrupting myself to bring you this commercial break from one of our sponsors. There's somebody I've been looking at for a long time, and when they reached out to me, I said, yes, we have to be able to do this deal. So that sponsor is Follow Up Boss. There's a lot of superstars out there that use Follow Up Boss. What's your favorite CRM?
We're using Follow Up Boss.
We use Follow Up Boss.
So we use Follow Up Boss.
I love Follow Up Boss. I love it. We have action plans now for bringing on new agents. We have action plans for our recruiting.
We call them action plans in Follow Up Boss, which will trigger tasks for the agents to do as far as calling. Follow Up Boss I like more for the integrations with everything, MailChimp, Call Action, all those different products.
I will say we used Sync and we switched from Sync to Follow Up Boss.
Honestly, the greatest CRM I've ever used. I've used Brivity, Sync. I've looked at Boomtown, like Real Geeks, just a bunch of different ones. But me personally, I fell in love with FUB about 7 months ago when I first started using it.
I've used Boomtown. I've used LineDesk. I've used Conversion. And I think Follow Up Boss gives you the most integrations that are simple, and it gives you the best ability to go and integrate large things into one single solitary platform. Yet at the same time, it's still affordable.
I do like Follow Up Boss better just because you can text from the app and things like that. It's just a little more convenient for me.
It tracks everything that I need. I can customize it if I want. If I want to go smart list based, that's fine. If I want to go task based, it's fine.
I think it's one of the best systems, and it's very user friendly.
It just really helps me never drop a ball because it's so user friendly.
I don't have a one horse in the race with Follow Up Boss. Purely objective, Follow Up Boss has been the best one that we've found.
Now, I've used Follow Up Boss. We've actually used it in our non-real estate businesses as well because it's so good at being able to set timers, set automatic texting and emailing. So here's what we got. For Real Estate Rockstars listeners, you get a 30-day free trial. That's normally 14 days. So in order to get this, you go followupboss.com, just like it sounds, /Rockstars. Go there, get your 30-day free trial and check it out. Especially if you aren't using any systems or any CRMs yet, this will be a great one for you to start with. Thanks again. Now back to our show. Real Estate Rockstars, this is Aaron Amuchastegui. Hey, you guys are in for a treat today. I think I was probably talking about this book last year when I first read it. It wasn't a real estate book. I didn't see it as a real estate book. But now there is a real estate version of the book. So I have Chris Voss on here today. Chris Voss is the author of a book called Never Split the Difference. And the concepts were really life-changing for me and a bunch of the guys that are in my different masterminds. And we've talked about it like crazy about how it applies in our business. And then a month ago, I got to interview Steve Shull, which was the co-author with Chris on the book, The Full Fee Agent. And so many of you listeners reached out and were so excited about those concepts in here. So I'm excited to talk to Chris today. Chris, how's it going?
Hey, it's going great. I'm happy to be on with you. Thanks. And I got to follow up Steve Shull. I mean, it's like going after Robin Williams and trying to be funny, right, Steve?
Yeah, trying to be funny after the fact. Him and I had some fun on that interview, and I was learning a ton. I was taking notes as I was interviewing. So how long ago did you actually like leave your business, your day job, and start writing your book?
Well, the two separate events. Leaving my day job. I was an FBI agent, and what's the definition of retirement? I technically took a pension from the federal government 2 days after I was eligible.
Yeah,
that was back in 2007. And started teaching and coaching negotiation for business right away. Mm-hmm. And then the book, Never Split the Difference, came out in 2016. We took our time. My son, Brandon, and I wrote that book together along with Tal Roz. Brandon is uncredited co-author. That's what dads do to you, right?
Yeah.
But, we wanted to make sure we had a good system end-to-end for negotiating under any circumstances. And so we taught at business schools for a while and test drove it and had our students test drive it in real life. Everything from Wall Street negotiations to negotiations between a husband and a wife over a Christmas tree. Because it's human interaction, long-term productive human interaction, not where both sides lose. I've always hated that phrase. A good negotiation is when both sides feel like they've lost it a little or both sides are upset. That is not the formula for long-term relationship or repeat business, no matter what you're doing for a living. If everybody's unhappy when they deal with you, how could that possibly be good for you long-term? And we never taught that at all. And enough students and the business school students were racking up successes. We put the book out in 2016.
Yeah. So going from being an FBI agent, a negotiator, a hostage negotiator, did you know right away that I'm going to be able to change some business lives too? That like the stuff that you've learned, because you learned that process, you came up with those concepts. Did you know right away, like I'm going to change a lot of lives with this stuff? I'm going to start teaching in business.
Nah, you hope for it. You hope the concepts apply. You start doing it yourself. You want to find out if something works, try it yourself, walk the talk yourself. Yeah. And then learn and refine. And the real big triggering moment for me really was when I went through Harvard Law School's negotiation course while I was still an FBI agent. I wasn't a student at Harvard. I negotiated my way into the course. And they love the idea of a collaboration with the FBI. And they said, look, you can't go through the course as an observer. You got to be a full-fledged student participant. All the rules that apply to the other students can apply to you. And I'm like, all right, yeah, I'm game for that. And after I'd been there, they said, you're doing the same thing we are. And the validation from Harvard really was the external validation to let me know that it applied to business and personal life. So that didn't happen until 2004.
Yeah, that's pretty brilliant. They said, hey, you can come, but you have to be a real student in the class. Like you got to be all in. Yeah. You guys kind of help each other, see if the right stuff's getting taught.
Yeah. It was great. It was very generous of them to let me in, and I learned a ton from it.
When I tell people about your first book, Never Split the Difference, I explain it and say, look, the author was an FBI negotiator and he was doing hostage negotiations, and you could never say, hey, I'll take half the hostage.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? You could never, as part of your book. And it really summarized it in like a nutshell of the author. Like, no, never split the difference is being able to like win every negotiation, because you can't get half the hostage. You need the whole hostage back. When Chris was going into negotiations, he had one goal and there wasn't really a meet in the middle scenario. How would you describe it better than that? Or what would you change or add on to that quick summary?
No, that's pretty good. I mean, meeting in the middle is, it's a recipe for both sides losing something. Mm-hmm. And the real problem is that you don't lose evenly. Like a Nobel Prize winning behavioral economics theory from 2002 from Daniel Kahneman, prospect theory, effectively says lost things twice as much as an equivalent gain. Now, this is for humans. This isn't for Americans or Caucasians or English speakers. This is for human beings. So how does that play out in this whole compromise idea or meeting in the middle? You're never going to feel like it was an even trade, because if lost things twice as much as an equivalent gain, let's say you give in $1, it feels like $2. Mm-hmm. And so to get even with the other side, you got to take $2 out of their hide. And now they've lost $2. Now for them to feel even, they got to get you for $4. And this is a recipe for a downward spiral. So it's human nature. Just compromise makes us angry, makes us feel cheated, makes us feel like, the F-bomb in negotiation. We feel it wasn't fair.
Yeah.
And just understanding the emotional dynamics that drive how we evaluate, then as soon as we start applying in real life, then we're out of this whole compromise mindset and people are making deals they never thought would be possible.
Yeah. So but some people would say, like, if you're going to win every argument, right? If you're going to come out getting if you're going to go into this negotiation going, this is what I need and I need it 100%.
Right.
And if you always get that, isn't that going to ruin, like, how does that not ruin the long-term relationship, right? Because he said, no, if we meet in the middle, it's going to ruin our chances of doing business in the long term. But if you get everything you wanted, so help people understand that.
Yeah, that's a great question. And the first thing that we do in order to reframe people's thinking, give you a different mindset, give you a different religion, if you will. We take the word argument out entirely. If it's about an argument, then you're already in a recipe for a disaster, zero-sum game, both sides lose. Now, we got one of our clients that we put through a special, we don't call it a mastermind, but we put our top-performing, big-time entrepreneurial CEOs in a special group, so they were with their peers. And I interviewed one of them after it was over, and he said, I made so much more money being collaborative than I ever made being cutthroat. Now, he taught his people how to do this, and he taught his people to get on the phone and stop talking about price and start talking about delivery and terms, and give the other side the opportunity to throw a change in terms of you that's actually more profitable for you. Now, they suggested it, so it works for them. And this is when you start to get into areas where both of you can make more money if you just collaborate. Now, that's kind of the Harvard definition of better negotiation. But they want to approach it in an academic way, and they didn't have the emotional intelligence tools that hostage negotiators had to navigate emotions. So what we do is we get people out of the cutthroat competitive mindset into collaboration, if and only if that makes more money for you. Like, ideally, you love being collaborative because you have long-term relationships and you sleep better at night and people like you more. But that needs to be the secondary benefit. The primary benefit, your responsibility, is to make more money for yourself and your company, to give your kids a better future, to put your kids in a bigger house, to provide more for your family. And so making that transition to collaboration, unless you find a way to understand it's actually more profitable, is a very tough transition.
Yeah. In real estate, it's like, there's like contractors. What most agents also deal with is remodeling contractors and, construction and things like that. And I could see collaboration probably working. It's very common to say, how much is this going to cost? Right. And then say, can you do it for less? It's always like you ask the contractor, how much is this remodel going to cost? And then you go, can you do it for less?
Right.
Right. And then you go, well, okay, if you can't, I'm going to call somebody else. So you call like 8 people and you try to figure out who can do it for less. And that is, some people would say good business. Some people would say cutthroat, but it's not collaboration. And so could you think of how those conversations could be collaborative? When somebody's reaching out and going, hey, I need to figure out how to hire a contractor. When you're saying, like, let's make it their idea, what's a way that someone could practice that?
Well, contractors, that's a great question. And contractors is a tough business, which has to do a lot more with price. It has a lot more to do with what's their back office look like. Like, I cut a deal with a contractor once where they wanted a certain amount down to buy materials. Mm-hmm. And I said, look, give me a list of the materials. I'll go buy them. Let me take this off of your back office's task list, because every contractor's back office has support staff. I mean, these people are scrambling. They're having trouble getting stuff done. I mean, that's a cost for the contractor, the cost of implementation. What are the costs of implementation that we can change that actually cost you less, but that I may be able to shoulder? And I went out, I got a list of the materials. We went out, we bought all the materials, we got them on site. Contractor got out there, did the job immediately, and we paid him the profit. And it was one of the quickest and smoothest jobs a contractor ever did. And it helped him balance out, he's got cash flow issues. How do I get the cash into your hands? How do we make it easy for you to implement? I mean, there's all sorts of things that are involved in implementation other than price.
Yeah.
And you get into a conversation where how can we tailor the terms to make this more profitable for you? Well, then I got a better set of terms and you made more money. Now you have to be able to get in there and explore the issue with the other side. And, we can tell you it's more profitable, but then also what happens then once you get started in that, your deal velocity with people gets much quicker. Like I did an interview with Mark Cuban probably about a year and a half ago. And he spends a lot of time ironing things out and methods of doing business, a lot of time on the first deal.
Mm-hmm.
So once they know what works best for the other side, then everything after that accelerates. Oh, you actually show up on time? Well, I need to get my act together on time so I can match what you're going to do. There's so much that affects profitability. Price is only one aspect. And in many cases, you can increase the other side's profitability and make it a better deal for you simultaneously.
Real estate rockstars, this is Aaron Mujastegui with a quick commercial break from our newest sponsor. Now listen to this. Are you looking to take your real estate business to the next level? Introducing the copy and paste formula to implement and monetize your VIP club. This is the only course that provides a step-by-step roadmap to turn your clients into lifetime referral partners while creating an additional revenue stream and attracting and retaining agents all in one. This comprehensive program teaches you the tools and techniques you need to add value propositions, monetize your VIP club, manage and operate your VIP club with ease, and brand yourself as the mayor of your market. With detailed checklists, processes, and systems for every department of your operations, you'll have everything you need to successfully implement and monetize your VIP club. You'll learn how to easily monetize your VIP club, attract and retain agents, host highly converting client events, add unique value propositions to your business, monetize your lifetime home support model, create additional revenue streams. The lifetime value of a client is priceless, and this course will show you how to retain your clients for life and turn them into referral machines. You'll learn how to add transaction fees and lay the groundwork for an additional six-figure revenue stream, all while growing your market share. With all-inclusive marketing templates, scripts, and checklists, you'll be able to implement and monetize your VIP club with ease. Don't miss this opportunity to take your real estate business to the next level. Sign up for the copy and paste formula to implement and monetize your VIP club today. Go to www.startyourvipclub.com. Until March 15th, you've got this special code. Real Estate Rockstars listeners, you'll save $200 with the promo code RERSVIP. Again, go to startyourvipclub.com for March 15th. Use the code RERSVIP to save $200. And if you want to learn more about this program, go back and listen to episode 1119, where Amy Stockberger tells me all about it. Now back to your regularly scheduled program. Yeah. And that the win-win is that thing that it's like the people say often, right? But then other times say, well, that doesn't really exist, but that's when it can lead to something where I like that, where both people are happy, and they get what they want. So I could see that happening. I mean, it makes sense too with the Mark Cuban scenario of, hey, be very collaborative at the beginning, because once you figure out how it works, then it's like clockwork. Then you don't have to re-ask questions. Then you don't have to renegotiate every time. And so it's worth taking the extra time at the beginning to get collaborative, to figure out the terms, to figure out the deals, because then the next time you call them, it's just saying like, hey, let's do it again. And let's go do this thing again. Or maybe the question doesn't come up. I could also see that happening. It sounds like too, if I'm calling a contractor and if they say, hey, I want you to put 50% down right away, that probably a great way to go with that conversation is just start to ask them why, right? Like, So why do you need that 50% down? Because I'm not okay with that 50% down. So why do you need that? Because maybe there's something in there that I could fix a different way that I'm comfortable with, like your series. Does that make sense? Is that a good idea? Or would you do that a different way?
Well, so what you're trying to do is exactly what you need to be doing. Now, unfortunately, what you're trying to do is often you create friction and problems by how you do it. Now, what the heck am I talking about?
Yeah.
The word why. Like, there's so much bad advice out there. It says, find out their why. Okay, let me ask why. The problem is, and I learned this as a hostage negotiator, why universally makes people feel defensive. Like, if I were to say to you right now, why did you wear that shirt? You got an instantaneous defensive reaction. What's wrong with this shirt? Like, I like this shirt. Why don't you like my shirt? Because every human being globally has been conditioned. When you were 2 years old and you broke something, the nearest giant next to you, which is an adult, pointed their finger at you and said, why did you do that? In every culture on earth. So we found out, one of the things I learned in hostage negotiation, like, why always makes people feel accused, which then possibly leads to anger and being upset. And it's friction. Now, how do you do it better? If I just say to you, instead of why did you wear that shirt, I said, what made you wear that shirt? You felt that land differently.
Yeah.
It felt less accusatory. That's one of our skills. We refer to that as a calibrated question. Calibrated questions need to start with very specific words because the way it lands emotionally, and generally speaking, what lands well, because people love to be told to tell other people what to do. So what tends to land deferentially? Now I could pick a third way, depending upon my read of you in a moment, and I'd say, seems like you got a good reason for wearing that shirt. Now you're laying that out immediately with the contractor. Not why do you need 50% down? The Black Swan method way in that instance would be like, seems like you got a good reason for needing 50% down. That contractor is going to lay out their good reasons for part of that money. And the crazy thing is, for what they don't have good reasons for, seems like, which is what we refer to as a label. Again, it's this stealth emotional intelligence weapon. It hits your brain in a very different way. When you have a good reason for it, you can't wait to tell me. And the crazy thing is, if you don't have a good reason for it, you'll say like, well, actually, and you'll be very honest with me and you'll lay it out. I had one in DC, one of our students at Georgetown, MBA part-time student. He worked for a contractor during the day. They had a subcontractor that was not performing, and it was screwing the whole project up. So he sits down with the subcontractor and says, seems like you got a good reason for not doing the work on time. And the subcontractor looked down and said, nah, we don't. Now, I don't know why. Seems like you got a good reason for that. Hit his brain differently and pulled the honesty out of him. I don't got to know why. I'm a layman. I know what works. And we've seen stuff like that work time and time again. And when the subcontractor who wasn't performing said, nah, we really don't, he didn't feel accused, backed into a corner, called out. It put him in a collaborative mode, and they worked it out and they fixed the problem.
It's such fascinating stuff, really. Like, because that conversation is like, so why can't you get this done on time is a very defensive. What's making you get this done on time? Like, a little bit better, or there's a way. But then seems like you've got a great reason. It gives them every ability that if they do have a great reason, like they're in the power position, and so they're getting to feel heard. But then when they don't, I could actually see that going, seems like you got a good reason for that 50% deposit. And they might even just reply back of like, well, we could do 20% instead. Like, I could see them start negotiating against themselves just from that question that wasn't even adversarial.
Yeah, exactly. As soon as you remove yourself as a threat, as soon as you stop being the adversary, and that's one of the great things about labels, then it changes the conversation. And they feel, human beings are actually hardwired to collaborate. What makes me say that? Tal Raz, a co-author of Never Split the Difference, the writer, said, you know what of our ancestors, our prehistoric ancestors, The only ones that survived were the ones that collaborated. The ones that didn't collaborate died alone in the dark in a cave with nobody around them. And they don't have any descendants. The collaborative humans survived. And so we have a hard wire into us to collaborate. We just need to know that the person we're talking to wants to collaborate with us.
So saying the word why is horrible, right?
Unfortunately, it is, yeah.
So are there any other words that are like big no-nos?
Well, the other thing that is really counterintuitive to most people is we're out of the yes business entirely. Now, there's something out there called the yes momentum and momentum selling. And I'm willing to concede that maybe there was a point in time that this was effective. But everybody's been bamboozled over somebody getting them into this. Yes, I want more money. Yes, I'd like to have a better deal. Yes, I'd like to get this done sooner. So yes, I'll put the 50% down.
Yeah.
Some nonsense. Everybody's been bamboozled by the yes momentum because the hustlers use it to get us into bad deals. The timeshare industry is somewhat infamous for people saying, what did I agree to? I thought I was buying this 5-star vacation home that I could get access to at any time. And I had no idea. Not only can I not get into it when I want to, I got a bill payment on it as big as my mortgage.
Yeah.
These were the yes momentum folks.
Yeah.
So how do you get away from that? I mean, get out of yes entirely. Like labeling is designed to give freedom of response, is to get out of the yes business. And a lot of people inadvertently stick to this yes momentum stuff because maybe they weren't making any sales or making any deals at all. Their batting average was 0. And they started the yes momentum and they got a batting average of 1 in 10. Now I'm making deals. And I was making no deals before. I was making no agreements. And now I got a 10% hit rate. Problem is, and you stick to that. But the problem is, the yes momentum, you'll never get above 10%. And if you get out of the yes business, you find your deal making velocity expands to anywhere from 30 to 80%. And it just works so much better, but you don't know to work better because you started at 0 and you climbed out of the mud using yes, and you don't know that yes is holding you back.
Yeah. And everybody has seen that sort of the sales mentality of like, and it even goes like, yes, you like that. Yes. Is there, so if I could do that for you, if I could provide that for you, would you say yes? When we're on the offense and we're trying to go start that negotiation, the seems like really works, right? Seems like you've got a reason for that when you're starting that. Another part I remember from your book is kind of when we're on the defense and somebody's coming into a negotiation at us. And the simple response of, how do you expect me to do that?
Right.
Or something along those lines.
Right.
Like just going like okay, but how do you expect me to do that? Yes, I have bills too, though. So how do you expect me to do that?
Right.
Would you elaborate on that or expand on that? Or like, is that still a good method? Right. Because there's certain things that stuck out for me back then. I wonder if it sticks out to a lot of people.
Yeah, it's an opening story and never split the difference, right? How am I supposed to do that with Bob Mnookin, who is the head of Harvard? We originally started using how am I supposed to do that from kidnapping negotiations with the most aggressive negotiators on earth. I mean, the most aggressive, most cutthroat, most price conscious. These guys are about getting the most money out of you in their ransom. These are price attacking negotiators. And I originally thought of it as the first way to say no. Because when you say, how am I supposed to do that? You're telegraphing to the other side that there's a no lurking here, but you haven't come out and said.
Right. You haven't offended them yet.
What's that?
You haven't offended them yet. It's like lurking. Yeah.
Exactly. It's a way to gently start putting the brakes on a situation. And in using it, my son Brandon said, this is forced empathy. This is a way to make the other side take a look at your position. Make them. Now, so the issue is not necessarily how they respond, but the issue is you stop them in their tracks and you make them take a look at your position. Now, as the Black Swan method has evolved, and we say yes is nothing without how, and how's about implementation, when you say, how am I supposed to do that? You're telling the other side, you got implementation problems here. Like, I don't have the budget, but you're not making any excuses. You're not making any pitches. You're planting a seed in their head that implementation may be a problem here. And it's a great test to see if the other side cares about your problems or your implementation. Their response to that is going to tell you right away who you're dealing with, no matter what they say, because they're going to give you a very honest response to how am I supposed to do that. And a lot of people have gotten a long way just with that alone.
So it does a couple things. It tells them that a no is lurking without offending anybody.
Right.
Plus, it really helps you get to see who you're working with.
Yeah.
Because if their response is like, go kill 15 people and come back, if their response is super, then if they're thinking about it, they're empathizing with you, this person's going to be reasonable and we're going to get to something. Or if they come back with like this super extreme response, I could see now who you're working with. Fascinating stuff. So how did you get in touch with Steve Shull, or how did Steve get in touch with you where, because Never Split the Difference was out a while ago. It's been a big success, and you've been on lots of podcasts and talking to people, like I said. What made you want to do this book with Steve?
Yeah, Steve is a great guy. Steve's about learning, and he's a classic person that you want to learn with, you want to learn from. He understands that you got to be both a mercenary and a missionary. What's a mercenary? That's just somebody that just cares about what works. What's a missionary? Somebody who cares about the effect it has on people. So Steve found Never Split the Difference on his own because the guy's always reading. He's always learning. He's relentless on trying to get better. And he found Never Split the Difference, and it blew him away. And he reached out to us. He spoke to my son Brandon first. And Brandon contacted me, said, we got to do business with this guy, Steve Shull. I want you to talk to him. He's a good guy. He's our kind of people. We share the same core values. Talk to him. And I got in touch with Steve, and he laid out for me what was going on and how he wanted to collaborate. Ridiculously easy guy to collaborate, cares very deeply about people and their successes, wanted all the coaching clients that he had to get better at real estate, and was not so wedded to his old methodology, which was, the find and grind, the really extremely hard-working, low percentage success, because he'd had a tremendous amount of success himself doing that. And when he saw that this was better, he's like, we got to teach these people how to do this. They don't have to kill themselves anymore. And so we started to collaborate, very easy guy to work with. And we started finding real estate agents that want to get better, wanted to have an easier life, and didn't want to be miserable all the time.
Real Estate Rockstars, this is Aaron Amuchastegui. Thank you for letting me interrupt for a second. I've got something really, really important to talk about. How last year we kept talking about that mastermind? What is the mastermind? What are we talking about with that mastermind? Last May, there was like 60 or 70 people of you listeners that had never met, flew out to Austin, Texas. We all hung out at this awesome event center, and we spent a couple days with some great guest speakers talking about skills and strategies to succeed in real estate. And then we had these mastermind tables where everyone rotated, everyone got to meet everybody, everyone got to provide value. Some of the agents there had only done 1 or 2 deals ever. Some of the agents there had done hundreds of deals, and they all got to interact and help each other build their business and build their strategies. And I've heard so many stories of friendships that came from that, of referrals that have come from that. There were 6 or 7 people at that one that heard me talk about doing an Ironman, and we all did an Ironman together in North Carolina last month, and we had never even met before the podcast live. So it's been such a cool experience. I would love it for you guys to come. Days March 6th through 8th. Sign-ups right now. Go to hibandigital.com/mastermind. We also have a room block set up. It's 3 days, downtown Austin. Great, really cool hotel, really cool convention center that we're going to be hosting it. And we're going to get a chance I can't wait to meet you guys. I can't wait for you to meet other listeners. I can't wait for you to develop these new interactions. And really what we're teaching, last year was like, how do you make a business better? but the market was just starting to turn, and I was trying to give some people some advice of what to do when it was happening. Now it has turned, and this time we're going to be talking so much about how to pivot and what to do next. So again, I hope you sign up for the mastermind. Sorry for such the long advertisement, but I can't wait to meet you. hibandigital.com/mastermind. Yeah. The idea of being able to take those concepts, I mean, as he described it, it's like he read your book and immediately was like, how much this can apply to real estate stuff, right? And real estate people, and commissions was the things we talked about the most. So have you guys started to? So you talked about having coaching clients. Right. Like client, is that through full fee agent? Is that through Black Swan? Like you never split the different stuff. Like who comes to you as a client? Is it is high level CEOs? Like how do people work with you?
Well, on a real estate aspect, I mean, there's a monthly coaching call that Black Swan does with Steve Shull, and then Steve does an awful lot of follow up work. I mean, like the amount of effort and energy he puts into role play sessions, scripting dialogue, coaching people over and over again, supporting them on emails. Like he is a phenomenal real estate coach, and we collaborate on that. I mean, if you're a real estate agent, there's an avenue to collaborate through the Black Swan Group. If you send us an email, info@blackswanltd.com, we'll make sure you get connected to the community that we coach. And he's in LA. He's got people that are selling $30, $40, $50 million houses. They're huge volume. They make a lot of money, and they never got full fee till he started coaching because they didn't think they could, and they didn't know how to ask. I mean, he's got some phenomenally successful people, but they want to learn, and they in a business 10, 15 years never got full fee. Till we taught them how to ask, simply. And so we do that, and then we have a lot of other types of business clients that we're training and coaching, and same method. An email to info@blackswanltd. What are you looking for? We'll connect you up with, do you need training? Do you need coaching? Do you need a mix of both? If you got a deal right now that's causing you real problems, we'll put you into our coaching. Do you need the training? Yeah. Wherever you are, we'll meet you where you are.
Yeah. So on the real estate side, so there's people are always negotiating, people are negotiating deals, right? Sales price and terms at the beginning, and this price and this amount of time, or this price and this amount of time. People are negotiating repairs along the way. People are negotiating commissions with their clients. Right. And I loved one of Steve's examples on our last call of when somebody came to him afterward and said, hey, can you do this for less money? And his strategy was to call and say, I'm so sorry that I did such a bad job in this, that you want some money back. I'm just so sorry that I must have just really blown it, and you must be really upset with me. And I think that's what it was. I'm so sorry. You must be so upset with me for how bad I did for you. And they're like, well, no. And it kind of gets that mindset shifting, like, well, no, you didn't do a bad job. Oh, well, you said you wanted some of the commission. But have you had any clients, or it maybe heard through Steve, of anyone where there's the brokers negotiating with their agents right now? A lot of there's less houses selling right now. And so there's a lot of people saying, I'm going to switch brokerages because this brokerage is going to take 10% instead of 20%, or 20% instead of 30%. And then vice versa from the broker side, and where there's just this negotiation now between splits between broker and agent. And then that's a big pitch that recruiters are doing of why ours is different. Money is what everybody says is why our brokerage is different. Has that started to come up yet with this concept as you guys are coaching as the full fee agent stuff?
Well, yeah. And every one of these conversations is a negotiation. And anybody that can get into collaboration, like as a real estate agent, it really doesn't matter what your split is if you don't close deals.
Yep.
And if you're wasting your time out there doing a lot of really inefficient behaviors, then you're going to close fewer deals. Now, how do you waste your time? When you're being played for the fool in the game. Like the amount of time that's spent of real estate agents with potential clients that they're never going to land, ever. Mm-hmm. How do you recognize what those situations are so that you're not wasting your time on them? So whatever your position is, whether you're an agent or whether you're a broker, you're looking for people that can produce a steady flow of money. And it doesn't matter what the terms are if you're producing a steady flow. If you're a good employee, you deserve every dollar that you can get. If you're a good boss, you want good employees, and you're going to pay them because you need them to stick around because they're going to go someplace else if they don't produce. So this is really a two-way relationship about how do we work together best to collaborate over the long term. Now, that sounds great theoretically. One of the tough things about the residential real estate agent business is the attrition rate is high.
Yeah.
Like there's probably there's no barrier to entry. And it's a tough business because you don't get paid if you can't produce. And people come in with dollar signs in their eyes. Or how do you conduct yourself in a way where you're not being bamboozled by a client who's going to waste a year and a half of your time? I was a young lady I knew in Los Angeles about 4 or 5 years ago. This guy came to her, wanted to buy a $9 million house. And immediately her and her colleagues said, $9 million, man, you make that sell, that could make your year. Well, she worked with him for a year and a half before she finally accepted he was never going to buy. He wanted somebody to talk to when he came to town.
Yeah.
He's had a lot of money, like looking at houses, like thinking about buying houses. I mean, she showed him house after house after house. And he was just there because he wanted companionship when he was in town. Like that person is very easy to spot up front if you know what to look for. You can weed that person out in the first half hour if you know what to look for, because there's a complete profile of demographics, psychographics of that behavior. What happens to your profitability as an agent if you're not wasting time with clients that are never going to buy? You make more money.
Yeah. Regardless of the split, the wasting time on the split doesn't, like you said, the split doesn't matter if you're only doing 1 or 2 deals, and if you're able to find those other ways to do business, to do better business instead, or even for brokers that are managing agents. I've heard, one of the guys I interviewed, he said he was growing so much, but about once a month they would essentially fire one of their agents. And I said, well, how are you growing if you're getting rid of agents? Like, why would you get rid of an agent? Because if they don't bring you any money, or they only do 2 or 3 deals a year, you're still making money on them. Right? So why? I was so confused by this idea of growing so heavily, but that every month they would let somebody go. And he said, if I have an agent that's working for me and he's only going to bring in 3 deals a year and he's not going to do the stuff that we're saying, he goes, I'm pouring my heart and soul into them, and I'm coaching them, and I'm teaching them, and spending time with them, and they're not doing it, and they're only getting 3 deals a year. He goes, I actually need to let them go so I could focus that same amount of effort on somebody that is going to do it. So now they are, because the person that's going to do what I'm saying, they're going to do 10 or 20. And it's a similar way of thinking that you're describing there, because that was the first time that I was like, oh, you can actually grow more effectively by letting people go, because then you get to focus on the right people. It was profound when I heard it then.
Yeah. It's understanding what your time is really worth. And then, it's the harsh reality of life. Like if you don't have good habits, and I tolerate you, then I really don't value good habits. It's a core values issue. It's a business structure issue. And it's a great approach. It sounds very Darwinian, very draconian, very Machiavellian, however you want to phrase it. But it's really holding people accountable for good habits.
Yeah. So what events and things like that do you and Steve have coming up this year?
Well, having finally got the full fee agent out this past November, and it continues to sell well. We want to help as many people as we can, so we're probably going to host a conference of our own in the fall. It'll be probably September. We're probably going to have it here in Las Vegas. Yeah. And if you're subscribing to our negotiation newsletter, you'll get notifications on it. We'll let people know well in advance of when we're going to hold it. And it's really about helping people get better and giving them the most understandable tools we can. One of the things that I love about our methodology is it's based on the idea that it's got to be usable, it's got to be easy to understand. And if you can't understand it and implement it and use it, then it's not going to do you any good. And then if it's easily understood, you can implement it and you can find out for yourself how well it works.
Yeah. So I've read Never Split the Difference. I've ordered Full Fee Agent. What's the best way for people to be able to practice some of that stuff or learning? Is it by rereading some of the books, or is it just through one of your groups? Because I think about, like, even as you're just reteaching me and recoached, like the question of you must have a great reason for that. Yeah. Right. So some of that stuff, I'm sure the more you practice it, the easier it gets. Any advice out there for people that are like, I want to become an expert negotiator, but like they didn't realize they said why, or they didn't realize they said what, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, small stakes practice for high stakes results. Negotiation. Jim Camp wrote a book in 2002 called Start With No. And he used to say negotiation is a human performance event. He compared it to a sporting event. How do athletes get better? I mean, they practice each day. They do the little things in practice. You can start doing the negotiation skills, the labels, the questions with everybody you interact with the Starbucks employee, with a person behind a counter at the grocery store, at the drugstore. Like, we encourage people to use labels and mirrors and communication tools to understand the other side and make people feel heard every single day in little ways. Because you're in a big negotiation, you're not going to use something you haven't been practicing. You don't want to practice it in a big negotiation. So we say everything in life is a negotiation, potential collaboration. Use the skills every day.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that. Turning every conversation into a collaboration, into a negotiation, trying to remind yourself of it's like removing why completely. Even as a parent, I really need to remove why from my vocabulary. And we've started to learn that as soon as you say, like, why did you do something to our kids? We're like, no, it's always a shame type thing and trying to get away from that. But I could see, like, just practice, I guess, by being more aware, by learning, by practicing, maybe letting some people around you. Well, Chris, it was so much fun and such an honor to get to talk to you. This has been super, super fascinating for me to get to just reiterate some of the stuff. And I love what you guys are doing to really help agents apply this to real estate. Any other final thoughts? I know you told people how they could email you if they want to join that newsletter. Is it the email to join the newsletter, and just anything else? You on social media or anything like that?
Yeah, well, the website is blackswanltd.com.
Okay.
And our best tool for helping you get better is the newsletter, and it's free, and it's concise, and it's usable. So that'll be one of the first things that comes up is you come to the website, blackswanltd.com, you're going to get an opportunity to sign up for the newsletter. Now, we got a ton of free usable tools on the website. And so taking a look at the website, take everything we got that we give away. Raise your skill level to the point where you're going to want to come to Steve's coaching, or you're going to want to come to one of our in-person events. Start pulling yourself together in small ways now, tiny little ways, and you'll be surprised at how fast it accumulates.
Yeah. I'm looking at it right now, blackswanltd.com. There's a lot of stuff going on in there. There's how to get started. There's the downloads for the newsletter. There's different events you guys are doing out there. So cool. So listeners, you heard him. Go check it out on there. You can shoot him an email and he'll figure out a place to get you if you want to get involved with any of their coaching ahead of time. Chris, thank you again for coming on our show today.
Yeah, it was my pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. Real Estate Rockstars. Thanks for listening.
All right, Real Estate Rockstars, this is Aaron Muchastegui jumping in again to thank you for listening to the show. Hopefully you guys loved listening to that one. And I want to make sure that you know about all of the extra resources that we have. And also, we need your help. They say podcasts are free. You get to listen to podcasts for free. But what is the cost of that podcast? I would say if I could beg you to pay anything for that podcast, I would say the cost of the podcast is going and giving a review. So whether you download it on Google or Apple or YouTube or anywhere else, please go give us a review. Say what you liked, what you didn't like. It helps us get better guests. The more reviews, the higher we get in the rankings. Right now, we are the biggest podcast out there for real estate agents, and we want to keep that spot because we know there's lots of podcasts out there. So go give us a review. Also, be sure to go to hibandigital.com. If you liked any of the resources that those real estate agents talked about, we've got a huge video vault of those resources for free. Every penny that comes on the podcast that we interview, they give us something that helps them get their deals or helps them work with their clients. And we put that in the toolbox in our vault for you. So go to hibandigital.com and you can get it. If you're looking for real estate education, go to rebusuniversity.com. We have all sorts of courses in there to help agents succeed in real estate, how to get the listing, how to negotiate deals, how to become an investor, all sorts of different stuff, rebusuniversity.com. And if you want to chat with me, go find me on Instagram. And if you come find me on Instagram, you can send me messages. Tell me what you want to hear. Tell me what you liked, what you didn't like. We try to put a bunch of content out there too. You can find me in 2 different places. It's at rerockstars.com for our Real Estate Rockstars page, or at aaronamuchastegui.com for my personal Instagram page, where I can chat with you about all sorts of different things. Thanks for listening. We'll see you again soon.